Garden style is rooted in rustic sensibilities. It's all coming from the earth, you see, getting your hands in the soil and all the lovely things that can grow from it. Now wait a minute, garden style doesn't have to be wild nature. You see, it may come from the garden, but it's rooted in style. You see, it's all about a refined execution. But a farm chic lifestyle is comfortable. It's not fussy, it's simple and easy. Well, comfortable can become sloppy in a heartbeat. You see, beauty is the attention to detail. It's all about the refinements. I just think you have to have a foundation in nature that's not overworked. It's raw beauty, but it has to be developed to be sophisticated and polished. Garden style is something that is cultivated. Take a look at the color difference in these two picture frames. This is made of pine, it's been untreated, and this one has been stained with a stain that you can make, well, right out of your own kitchen with some really basic ingredients. Let me show you how to do it, because it's all natural and, well, the results, as you can see, are really pretty nice. What you want to start with is a quart jar. This will contain the stain, and it's as simple as taking a half a cup of coffee grounds. And these are grounds that you've already used. You don't want it to smell like coffee. And then you're going to take a steel wool pad. And I'm going to cut this into pieces, just small pieces like this. There's 1, 2, oh, and if you buy steel wool, if it has soap in it like this, you want to make sure you rinse all the soap out first. Next, what you're going to do is take the pieces of steel wool and just drop them into the jar like this. You see, what you're doing is you're creating a chemical reaction that comes up with a color which I think has a nice natural look to it. Now this is all activated by vinegar. I'm just using white vinegar. You could use balsamic, but it means your stain is going to be slightly greener in color. So what you do is you just take this white vinegar and you fill up the quart jar all the way to the top with those ingredients like this. And seal it off, and you're going to wait 1 day. Now if you wait 2 days, your stain is going to be slightly darker. So this has been soaking for 1 day. You can see my steel wool is beginning to dissolve. Then you want to take it and apply it with a steel wool like this across the plane of wood, making sure that it's fully saturated. This technique comes in really handy if you have to replace, say, a fence panel on your privacy fence, or maybe boards on your deck where they've weathered this nice silvery gray like this table has. You put a new board on there and you want it to match the other. Now, once you coat this, you're going to let this dry. And once it's dry, you'll probably want to apply another coat on it. It takes about 30 minutes for the chemical reaction to occur, and then this is the sort of look you get. So have a little fun with this. It's easy to make and very effective, and all natural. Coming up, a tip from one of my favorite designers, beautiful outdoor living and a delicious duck recipe. I've got a really clever project I want to share with you, and it takes something that's really ordinary and turns it into something extraordinary. You might say that we're going to take a rustic object and apply it in a very sort of refined way. All right, now this may look like an ordinary paint can, and you know what? You're right, it is. But what we're going to do is we're going to transform this paint can into something that's really stylish. And the end result, well, it can be quite lovely. Now, to begin with, you want to start with an empty paint can. Just make sure that there's no paint left in the can. If it's dry, that's okay, but no wet paint allowed. Then you want to punch several holes in the bottom to allow for drainage, because what we're creating here is a container for plants. Now for each can, what you'll need is a 7.5 by 24-inch piece of burlap with two 2-inch slits cut out to accommodate for the 2 places where the handle attaches to the can. Now as you apply this, you just want to make sure and check that the burlap aligns properly on the can and trim off any excess. Then just place the can seam side down and apply a thin layer of outdoor use adhesive to the bottom and the top edges of the face of the can. Then simply affix the burlap to the can starting in the middle and pressing it into the adhesive. After allowing the front to dry, turn the can over and repeat the process on the back. You just want to make sure that you use plenty of adhesive along the entire edge of the burlap. Now when this adhesive is completely dry, trim out the area around the handles and secure it with a little more adhesive. Now finish the top and bottom of your planter out by wrapping it with just some jute or twine. All right, now with this beautiful container ready, it's time to plant it up. Now what I'm going to start with is a really high quality potting soil. This is soil that's actually blended for container gardening, and this is very important because you want to make sure that it drains well. So I'm going to just make sure that we fill this up almost to the top. What I find, if the potting soil is really kind of dry and powdery, you want to make sure you add some water to it so it's nice and moist like this. And now it's time for our plant. And I'm using some of these sage plants. This is a pineapple sage. I just take the plastic wrap off. This is a biodegradable pot. And I'm just going to take that top lip off, and this is biodegradable, so it goes in the container. And then I'm just going to gently tear into the root ball and pull the bottom off. And this is to make sure that those little roots will grow out and expand so the plant itself will grow. All right, now it's just a matter of working it into the container like this and adding just a little more soil around the edge. There we go, like that. Now, I'll water this in, and I'll make sure that the soil remains consistently moist through the growing season, fertilizing it about every other week with an all-purpose liquid fertilizer. And you get extra points if you go all organic. Now, obviously, these are two important steps, making the container and planting it. But the finish that gives it a certain elegance and refinement is the pattern and the way you apply it to a wall or a fence. It's a great way to recycle some things and add a little touch of elegance to your garden. Hey, and you're going from this to this. Not bad, huh?
To create a space that's rustic and refined, try to stick to 2 or 3 elements so you don't go overboard. Here are my top 3. Leather, it's always rustic and refined. The older the better. Think about it like an old great chair. Also, wood is perfect for rustic and refined. It's great on a piece of furniture, but don't forget about those architectural elements like the beams or the floor. And finally, metal is always rustic and refined. Whether hammered or antique, they're all great. Think about a nail head on that old great leather chair. So use these tips to design beyond your comfort zone.
We're taking outdoor living to the next level when we return. If you want to make the most of your outdoor living spaces, my friend Ashley Mayo has a few tips you may want to think about. Come on, Duncan, let's go outside.
I think a rustic look incorporates a lot of primal elements. You're going to see more natural materials like wood and stone. Refined elements are going to be things that have a softer appearance, that are smoother in nature. It's easy to incorporate the two. The juxtaposition is actually really nice. I think that if you use just the right amount of color, that it can go a long way. You don't have to be oversaturated with it. I prefer to use a neutral palette and then add in color through the pillows or the accessories and things of that nature. The table and chairs are made from old wine casks. The wine barrels are from Napa Valley, and the finish you see on them is natural. It's because of the wine that was aged in them. You can use them outdoors, they're weatherproof. Well, I used glassware and a serving tray that you would use in your home. I like to bring elements from the home outdoors. I think it makes it more comfortable and more natural. The pillows are also indoor pillows, but once again, you can just carry them back inside. They're a lot more comfortable than the pillows you usually find for outdoor spaces. The candle holders are made out of old stairway spindles, and they have their original finishes, added the metal pieces, and they've been repurposed into candle holders. It's a jute rug, which is made of natural fibers, so you can use it indoors and outdoor. It'll dry quickly, but I mean, you can't leave it out forever. You can pack a lot into a small space, and I actually prefer to use small spaces. It's a lot more intimate and cozy. When you're outside, you have all of that area, so bringing it into a smaller seating area makes it seem more homey.
After the break, basic ingredients come together in an elegant dish. Fall is when hunting season gets into full swing. So Chef Tim Morton shows us how to prepare an elegant dinner using a popular game bird.
My name is Timothy Morton, and we're here at 1620 Savoy in Little Rock, Arkansas. Our food is American, Southern cuisine, influenced by French cuisine. Arkansas, we have some of the best hunting in the world when it comes to duck. This duck Savoy is packed full of flavor. It screams refinement of a Southern classic. Sweet maple flavor to it, but at the same time, you can still actually taste the duck. With the duck marinade, I'm gonna add about a cup of maple syrup, and it's gonna add a wonderful, sweet, savory flavor to this duck breast. I'm gonna add about a cup of kosher salt. I'm gonna add about a cup of brown sugar, 2.5 cups of balsamic vinegar, 3 tablespoons chili powder. After we mix everything thoroughly, we're gonna add a jalapeno to this wet cure, and then we're gonna let it sit for about an hour and let the heat really come out of the jalapeno. The heat from the jalapenos kind of meld with all the sugars and the salt and everything. And then you're ready to marinate your duck. Now we'll let that duck marinate at least for 5 minutes before you actually pan roast it. You really want to use a cast iron skillet. Beauties of cast iron, you get a nice even sear. What we're doing is adding a little oil to our pan. And then we're going to add the breast, the duck breast, skin side down to get a nice crispy caramelization on the skin. And you see the lacquered color of it right there. And when you're pan roasting it, you get a lacquer color on the outside of the skin as the skin starts to, the fat starts to render out of the skin and starts to get crispy. You want to finish your duck in the oven after you seared the skin part, about 400 degrees. And you want to caramelize the skin until it'll look a little dark because that's the sugar's caramelizing it. The French call it brûlée. You'll know how it's done by touch and feel. You start at your wrist and you have that's well done is the hardest part, and then you go down 1 inch, and then that's a medium well, and then a medium rare. We always serve it medium rare to medium. Once you remove the duck from the oven, you want to let it rest for at least 3 minutes. Natural juices reside back into the breast so it doesn't bleed out and make the duck real dry. After you let it rest, we slice it thin, and then we fan it out with a little bit of a rutabaga puree, braised collard greens, and a huckleberry reduction that make from the duck bones. From the rutabaga puree to the greens to the huckleberry jus, and the duck itself is just a wonderful combination.
Stay fresh inside and out after the break. When the temperatures begin to drop, I just have to say there's a treat that I can't resist. It's hot chocolate. What I love about this recipe is it sort of elevates that flavor profile just a little bit because we're using a surprising ingredient in the way of cayenne pepper. This one's called hot golden cayenne. I picked these this morning. We're going to start by taking a 1/4 cup of water and just pour that into a medium saucepan. And then what I have here, I have 6 tablespoons of cocoa. And then I have 2 tablespoons of stevia sweetener. And what I want to do is I'm just going to cook this on a low heat until that becomes the smooth paste. Now it's time to go to step 2 of the recipe, and that's to take 5½ cups of skim milk and just add this to the mixture. Ooh, I wish you could smell this chocolate. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla, constantly stirring. And then I have a 1/4 teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. A little bit of this goes a long way. Now this is finely ground. And then I'm taking 2 small sticks of cinnamon and dropping it in here. And the last ingredient is just a little pinch of salt. Got about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, just a little bit there. That'll enhance the flavor. And really, that's all there is to it. What you want to do is just continue stirring this until it comes to a light boil. Then just lift out the cinnamon sticks. You're ready to serve it. It puts to use some of that cayenne pepper you may have grown in your garden and actually brought in and dried. It's also a little healthier approach to hot chocolate using the skim milk and the stevia sweetener. This will serve 6 people. Give it a try. I think you're going to love this recipe. When fall begins to turn to winter, I look for ways to stretch my design dollar. One way to do that is to use greenery. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. Take, for instance, this rustic centerpiece. Well, the basis of it is fresh greenery. It's beautiful and effective. You simply begin with a pre-decorated wreath and add accents that complement the other decor. Doing this makes it look more like a cohesive part of the overall design and really gives the table a more polished look, even when you're using natural elements. Now, when the Thanksgiving meal is over, you can continue using the greenery outdoors as a decoration. If cared for properly, this greenery will last for weeks. Just be sure to keep it hydrated and out of direct sunlight. It's a great way to get more out of your purchase and keep that natural look going well into the holiday season. You know, I really get a kick out of multi-purposing things, whether they're ideas or objects. Here we've taken something that's refined and now using it in a rustic way. The main thing to do when you're decorating is just to tap into your own creativity and have some fun. Come up with your own garden style. Until next time, I'm Alan Smith. So what's this deal you coming out here trying to do a flower arrangement in your jacket? You pretentious jerk. And you're a single helix cretin that doesn't.
I can't understand what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Okay, starting from the top.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right.
Love greenery. You gotta write your face in it. It's so good.
I so love it. It's my favorite. I can't stand it. All right.
You ready?
Okay. Down with my big bad self. Down. Apply some of your own creative ideas and your own style. Use a bulldozer or a track hoe to make your wreath.